I believe that we are now good to go and that we are ready to kick off with the lesson. So for this session, I actually want to just introduce you to some concepts, just before we get deeper into this topic. And actually, what we are going to do is that we are going to put aside logarithms a bit. We first deal with the indices part, then from there we are going to deal with the logarithms, and then later on we can combine them together and see how they get to connect. I believe that will really be of great benefit to you. So let's just get into indices first. You see this term that we have right here, that is indices. This is a term that I know that you may have heard it quite a number of times, but not so many people know where it actually originated from. So this is a term that originated from the term index. For this term, I know that you may have heard it some time back, maybe when you are doing examinations and you had someone is index 1, index 2, and so on. But now in terms of mathematics, index, it is a term that is used to represent power. Therefore, index, it is a synonym for power, but then again you can also call it exponent. Let me write it there for you. Exponent. So that's the origin of the term index, or rather indices. But then again, for us to be able to have power, then that implies that we should have something that we call a base. Therefore, a base should be there, and that is a term that we are also going to expound more on that. But before then, how do we get to put together an index and a base? Basically, what we usually do is that we usually take a number. Let's take a certain number. I don't want to mention it, but take an example like 2, and then you place another smaller number on top of it, and let's say 4. So for this case, the number that is written as a bigger number, which is below the number at the top, this one is what we always call a base. And this one right here that I'm circling, that one is now what we usually call an index, but you can always call it also an exponent. So I want you to actually first have a deep understanding on these terms before we really move on. Let me get to highlight that one for you so that you can be able to visualize it very well. So this what we have right here, that is 4. This one is now what we call the index, but then this other one, which is the bigger number, that is now what we usually call the base. So these are terms that you are going to use quite often in this topic, and it's really very important that you first get to understand how they come to play around and how that works before we really get to move on. So in other terms, this one, the base, it is now the one that is at the foundation of this one which we have here, that is the exponent. Before we actually get to dig into this base, let's see how this term gets to work. That is a term like this one, 2 to the power 4. You know, I find a lot of students doing some confusion when they get such a number like 2 to the power 4. You see this one, it is a repeated multiplication. That's the best way to interpret that. That is repeated multiplication. But let me remind you something actually before we move on. If you had something like this one, that is 2 multiplied by 4, you see this one is a multiplication sign that is right there. This one would be interpreted as a repeated addition. This is just to refresh your minds. So for such a case like this one would converge to something like 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and then that would give you an 8. But now for this one, it would converge to a term that is 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2. Notice that right here we have multiplied 2 by 2 how many times? That is, we have the first time there, the second time there, the third time there, and the fourth time there. And why have we done that? Because the power that is right here, this one right here, it is 2 power 4. Therefore, we have to multiply that to 4 times. So that is the logic under which the indices works under, and that is something that we are going to play around all along this time. So let's get back to where we were. We were right here, that is getting to understand the index and also the base. Therefore, in other words, we can say that the base, it is the number to which the power has been raised to. So that's actually the simplest definition of the base. That is the number to which the power has been raised to. And now we have the index, we have the exponents. Now the exponent, that is the power to which the number is raised. That is the power to which the number has been raised. That is now what we call the index or the exponent. But then again, there are also other terms that we are going to use in this topic quite a lot, and one of them is index notation. You see what we have right here, that is the whole of this, that is the index and the base combined together in that relationship, like that. Now that is what we call the index notation. It's very important to understand that because we are also going to use it quite a lot. That is now the index notation. So this is like the technique of getting to express numbers in terms of powers. That is what we call the index notation. But then again, beyond this, there are also other terms that will get along with that, such as fractional exponents, quotient of powers. Yeah, but we are going to get used to those terms as we get to properties that get to involve that. But for now, for this, I wanted you to just have a clear understanding of what index is and what a base is, and then in the subsequent lessons, you are going now to dig deep into this. Let's meet in the next lesson when we are going to be learning about the laws of indices.